Good morning, grinders. Welcome to DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender HD, if you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Tuesday, April 19th in the Major League Baseball Association. We're not doing NBA, right? When the playoffs, Jokic got ejected yesterday for some reason, what the Warriors won, or stuff happened. Stuff happened in the NBA. Don't care about it. It's baseball season. And we'll be talking about that for God knows how long until NFL is back, especially. But we got the people in the YouTube chat. Suki Singh here as usual, early, beat real life pitcher, right? 10:47 Eastern. Good morning. Doug Montgomery. Good morning. Daniel Hutchins. Hola. Marge Mimic. Eric Brunick. Trey. Steve. Producing in the chat. Good morning, people. How was your slate yesterday? I had a good slate yesterday. Could have been even better. Could have even been greater, but no. The Reds did not do enough. The Astros did not do, and just a little bit, I came in what, fifth in the $88 one. I cashed all my line. I played 5 lineups yesterday. That's all I did. Typically, the shorter the slate gets, the more that I don't really want to play like 100 lineups or anything. So I played 1 to 250 on DraftKings, 1 in the 121, and 3 in the $88. Right, kind of a little bit smaller field, than the large field stuff. And my strategy was pretty simple. Was pretty damn simple, right? If I'm playing 5 lineups, I'll cut out. A lot of people don't realize that the less amount of money that you have at risk or less amount of lineups, you play riskier. You should be. I mean, like in general, right? When you have 100 lineups, it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not gonna fade a 70% owned pitcher in 100 line. I mean, you can, but if they do well, then all 100 lineups may be down in the drain, right? You have 5 lineups. Like, what are you doing trying to play everyone? You see. How much diversification can you really get in 5 lineups? Okay. So I choose not to diversify in 5 lineups really much. Okay. So I played 5 lineups. It's like, I'll build them by hand. We got 3 postponements, 2 postponements. But I mean, the Tampa Bay Chicago game still played. So it's a small slate, and the chalk is obvious. The chalk is totally obvious, right? This is the lineup that everyone's playing. Everyone. It's going to be Montes, Minaya, Phillies. Like, that's it. That's it. And then fill out the rest, right? That's going to be such the obvious lineup. We take a look here at ownership in the $88 contest. 72% Montes, 44% Minaya. Then Harper, 40% for a $6,200 hit. 27% Schwarber, 25% Real Muto, 24% Bohm, 21% Castellanos, 18% Hoskins, 17% Segura, right? And eventually you get down, you get like the Stott and Vierling or whoever at the bottom of the order. It's like, this seemed like so easy to me, right? And when in doubt on a smaller slate, it was like what, 6-7 games? It was 7 games. Like, I'm just gonna fit, like, at this ownership, I just X'd out cores. All right, just X it out. Phillies, just that, don't even worry about it. Like, I'm playing the game as if that game, it doesn't exist. They don't do well. It turns out they didn't, right? So once I take out the Phillies, it's like, well, I could do whatever the hell I want. So I don't even have to really concern myself with, well, what's sneaky stack? Well, everything else is fine. So it's like what team totals, if I take away the Coors game, what teams have the highest team total? Dodgers, Astros. Okay, let's plug that. And then it's like, do I want the chalky pitcher combination, Montes Minaya? Or do what I normally do, right? But especially when I have very few lineups, is stack against a chalky pitcher to gain as much. You're getting so much relative value by doing that. So I had to choose between the Orioles against Montes or the Reds against Minaya. Now, Minaya was 9,100 compared to Montes at 7,300. And because I was paying up for guys like the expensive Astros and the expensive Dodgers, that 1,800 I kind of needed a bit of. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll play Montes then. And then I'll play the Reds were really cheap. So there you go. There are my three teams. I built 5 lineups. And essentially I built, 5-3 combinations, right? So Dodgers 5, Astros 3. Dodgers 5, Reds 3. Astros 5, Reds 3. Reds 5, Dodgers 3. Reds 5, Astros 3. Just 5-3 lineups. Can I just get that right? Because I'm not playing the largest of fields. So the one-off type of stuff, it's like just 5-3. And if the Phillies put up 12 runs today, I just lose. Just like, that's it. Or if one of them, right, if Kyle Schwarber hits 2 home runs or something, has 37 points, then I just lose. And that's the way it is, right? And it turns out it wasn't the way it was. It was my third place, fifth, we had first place here. This is 5th place for 2,000. Right. The only difference is that I put in Cody Bellinger when Tyler Naquin was scratched. Okay, so this lineup originally in this Cody Bellinger spot had Naquin. So it was a 5-3 Reds Astros lineup. But of course, Kershaw got hit in that 6th inning. Would have been nice to have an extra, 6 points or something here, right? Did he even get the win? Yeah, I think he got the win, because that was down to 13 when I was last checked, right? I had Votto, nothing, right? Altuve came out of the game late, 5 points. I got the nut outfield combination, Alvarez, Bellinger, and Pham. Right, Pham was 4% owned because everyone was playing Minaya and no one's playing the Reds. So take a look at this amount of leverage, right? I'm not even playing either. I'm not playing Montes in this lineup, and I'm not playing the Trucks. I'm not playing any part of the Phillies. So it's like, I don't need everything to be perfect. Look, I came in 5th place with a 0, with a 5, with a 3 from Kyle Farmer. Right? I got the right outfield spots. I got enough points at pitcher. Now, not enough. I still needed up here at 170. Yeah, Machado had a good game. Right. Look, the person that won the $88 $20K to first didn't even have Alvarez in there. And he's the highest scorer on the slate. Right. But he had the Dodgers 4-man and some one-offs. Right. Diego Castillo as a one-off, kind of, I don't know, weird lineup. Billy McKinney. Right. Take a look at the 2nd place lineup here. Dodgers stack. There you go. Dodgers stack with Alvarez. Max Muncy had 2 points. Kevin Lux had 0. Came in 2nd for 10,000. So you don't have to be perfect. That's why I was building 5-3 lineups, or what this turned out to be a 4-3-1 because of a late scratch. Well, it wasn't late, but after I built lineups. Then in contests let's see, if we go here to, do they have any? I hate the fact that we don't have all the contests in here. We go to let's go to the large field, the relay throw. So what won the relay throw? He had 178. The Colts. Dodgers stacked. Dodgers 5-2-1, right? 5 Dodgers, 2 Reds, 1 Astro Alvarez, Garcia and McClanahan, 2 pitchers that I did play. I could have easily had this line. Easily. If I was playing large field contest, I could have easily had this line. Possibly even a better line. Not that hard. You don't even have to be perfect on slates, especially when the chalk just fails dramatically. If we take a look at exposures, I'm going to go to compare exposures across the board for the people that I've saved. I mean, we just take a look at, look, Cheese didn't even play. It looks like Cheese only played 2 lineups. So we can't count Cheese on DraftKings yesterday. But no, enough people play. I mean, he was 35% owned, and other than maybe two, RBX played 74%. Yeah, but like Nerdy Tenor, Daniel in the chat, 13%. Oh, that's Clayton Kershaw. No, Bryce Harper. Now it seems like a lot of sharp players still played a ton. I mean, at 35% owned, a lot of this is under. If I played 150 lineups, I would have had some Philly stacks. Like Castellanos at 6,000 under. I mean, some people played that. And the Phillies projected way higher than any other team. No, my strategy was let's just exit out. Maybe play Nola against the Rockies. I didn't get to Nola. I ended up playing either Garcia, Montes, Kershaw, or McClanahan. I only had 5 lineups. You see what happens on a slate like that, where there's such heavy chalk, and it's baseball. It's baseball, people. There's no such thing as a short thing in baseball DFS. There's nothing. The prices would have been even cheaper than this, and I would have said, okay, well, why am I playing lineups? If I play Montes, Minaya, and 5 Phillies, that lineup is I'm duplicated by like 20% of the field of the entire contest. So I need that to go well, and then the other 3 people in my lineup have to be perfect. And it's going to be a high-scoring slate. No, I'll root for a low-scoring slate. Phillies don't do nothing. Much easier then, right? Because I have so many more paths of winning. That's how you should be thinking. What is your path to first place? Daniel in the YouTube chat says the large field DK contest, the $15 relay throw at 52%, 150 maxes. Yes. It's not, I don't like playing that contest anymore. With the payout structure the way it is. That's why I prefer FanDuel, even though their payout structure sucks also. Just that when they have a $4 or $5 contest of that's their main GPP, less percentage of the field are 150 maxers because it's a bigger field. Right? It's for 35,000 entries instead of 10,000 or 15,000 entries. But yeah, it's so much easier to win when other things fail instead of thinking about what's going to do well. So it's very easy on slates to go, okay, what players, what pitchers, what stacks are being over-owned, especially when they're over-owned to the nth degree, like on this past slate. Not like over-owned, like, oh, they're going to be 12% owned, they should be 10% owned. It's like there is leverage there, yeah, but not as dramatic as here the stack is going to be 25 to 30% owned on a 7-game slate. Like that's just heavy. Is it warranted? Yeah, it was by far the top projected stack. Yes. But you know what the easiest way to win is? When that failed, just because like that's all you need to root for. If I were to build 50 lineups yesterday, I may have just played all the combinations that didn't include the Phillies. More of the combinations that I was playing. I would have played some Orioles against Montes. I would have had some Reds against Minaya. I would have had the Rockies and like something like, and just to have 0% of all the Phillies, or maybe I would have Phillies as only one-offs, that type of thing, where I'm never playing them in a stack. You're just running out of combos that you're going to have to compete against. So instead of thinking who's going to do well, think of who's not going to do well. Right? Especially in baseball, where the failure rate is so much higher. More things are likely to fail than do well for you. Remember, if you go 3 for 10 at the plate for your career, you're a Hall of Famer in baseball. 7 out of 10 times, you don't do nothing. So think that way in DFS. What has to go wrong for the field for you to win? And when that thing goes wrong, you have multiple ways to win. And you don't have to be perfect. Right? You can have a 0 in your lineup and win. That's because all the 40, 30, and 25% owned batters also have 0s or 3s or something. And so many of the lineups have them in it. So, I mean, look how low the scores were yesterday. Trey said, dude won in our Discord, I think, by playing the pitcher against the Phillies. Yeah, that's leverage, right? That's not necessarily leverage that I particularly employ often. You play Chad Kuhl against the Phillies, play the pitcher against the chalk stack. The only reason I say that is that a lot of times for the stack to fail, think of the correlation between the two. Okay. So like if I were to play the stack against the chalk pitcher, so let's say I played like when I did with Manaea, or if I played the Orioles against Montes. Okay. If 60% of the field have Montes, number one, pitching ownership gets more, they're more owned, right? You're more likely to see 60% owned pitchers than 60% owned batters, right? So obviously these pitchers tend to be more owned. So there's more leverage available to you. So if Montes is not the highest scoring pitcher, if let's say Montes only has 10 points, most likely the Orioles stack did something, right? For him not to score that well, unless got injured or something. So Montes's floor is more correlated to the Orioles ceiling. So I'm more likely to I'm going to gain so much more by playing a 5-man or 3-man or whatever. Play multiple Orioles batters against Montes and no Montes. Now let's think of it the other way. How does a stack fail? A stack fails when it doesn't put up enough runs, right? Not that it's zero, not that it's not a complete game, perfect game shutout, right? I'm not talking about that. So the 5-man Philly stack fails where the Phillies only score 2 or 3 runs, right? Bryce Harper could have a home run, right? Alec Boehm could go 2 for 5. I mean, they can't score a couple of runs and the stack still fails because other teams on the slate put up more runs or enough runs in enough spots where you don't need these guys. Where Bryce Harper with 16 points is unnecessary, right? Because you could have Jordan Alvarez, you could have Tommy Pham, you could have Cody Bellinger, you could have other people, right? So it's quite possible if you play Chad Kuhl and go, I'm going to get leverage by playing the 1% owned pitcher against the chalk stack. Well, doesn't mean the pitcher does well, right? The pitcher's ceiling does not correlate as much to the stack's floor. Oh, the Phillies don't do well. That means Chad Kuhl did well. Not necessarily. Chad Kuhl could pitch 4 innings, right? 80 pitches, right? Walk 3 guys, 2 strikeouts, give up 3 runs. And those are the only 3 runs that the Phillies score the entire game, right? So the Philly stack is sitting there with no home runs. They got some doubles or whatever, right? Some walks, a stolen base, and the stack sucks. But Chad Kuhl's sitting there with 5 points, not even win eligible. It's then what was the point in doing that? They're more now. Obviously, there are times where Chad Kuhl can come out and throw 700 strikeouts. Yeah, of course. But there are a lot more outcomes where the pitcher still does not score that well, and the stack fails also. Than the other way around. For the amount of leverage that you get. Because pitchers are more owned typically than batters. So stacking the Orioles against the 60% of Montes, I only have to worry about Montes, right? But when you stack Chad Kuhl against 6, 7 batters, when you play Chad Kuhl against the field ownership on a 9 batters in a lineup, it's what happens if the Gene Segura hits a grand slam or something like that? He puts up a lot of points. It's you don't have him, but for $4,500 second baseman may end up being the winning lineup, even though Chad Kuhl has 16 points or something. So it's not as correlative. So when people ask me, I'd much rather play batters against a chalkier pitcher if I'm looking for leverage, right? If this is the whole thing. You don't have to do either. But if you're looking for easy spots to find relative value, it's better to play bats against a chalk pitcher than to play the low-owned pitcher against the chalk bats. I'll probably have to say that 100 times throughout the season. And the reason why it's like, why? Well, why did you choose Manaea over Montes? It was just price wise. I had no problem playing the Orioles against Montes. Just the $1,800 difference. I was going to play one of the two chalk pitchers. They were the two best projected pitchers. Once I faded the Phillies, it's not like, okay, well, now I don't have to play either of the two pitchers either. Well, yeah, in the lineup that came in fifth, I had Kershaw and McClanahan. I had Montes in the other four lineups. And it's just the $1,800 meant something. When I'm playing Mookie Betts, I'm trying to put together Altuve, Bregman, Freeman, Mookie Betts. I mean, all like these 5K guys. I'm gonna need $1,800. I'm gonna need $1,800, right? And then the Cincinnati Reds were cheap. Aquino was $2,100. Pham was $2,700. Right? Stevenson was cheap. Like their Farmer was $2,300. They were all cheap. So it's so much easier combinations to make with the extra 1,800, and then you played. But that was really the decision. That's it. No one that I see over. No, that just it's a lineup construction thing. The Astros and Dodgers were cheaper. I wouldn't have had to do that. I could play Manaea. I just didn't have enough salary in order to do it. But this wasn't done by like people say, oh, you had optimizers and you ran lineups. Like you don't have to do that. To find the 5 lineups that are playing, I did run. But I only put those players in my pool. Right? That's the difference. Figuring out what to do and then have the optimizer do what you want it to do. I just excluded everyone from the player pool. Excluded everyone. Brought back Kershaw, McClanahan, Montes, and Garcia. And then I just included the Astros, the Dodgers, and the Reds. And then said 5-3. And then run a whole ton of lineups. And I chose 5. That's it. You could have built that by hand. I normally, before I could have built that by hand. And there you go. But you decide the strategy beforehand. Right? I'm not going in going, oh, what should I what? Let the lineup builder tell me what to do. No. Come up with your approach beforehand. Where's the leverage? Who's underowned? Who's overowned? How do I piece these things together? What teams have, like the Dodgers, barely, I mean, other than Bellinger in their lineup, they only had 2 outfielders, or 2 outfield eligible players. No, 3, because Lux was outfield eligible. You're right, they had 3. But that was a weird team, right? Bellinger, Betts, Lux. But then you have the Astros, and they have, Alvarez, Brantley, Tucker, Siri. They have 4 outfielders. The Reds, they had 3, and they were all cheap. So, like, how does everything mix together? If you need to play a shortstop, well, Turner is you pay Trey Turner. You're paying up for, but then you have Pena on the Astros, and then you have Farmer on the Reds. If you're just using those 3 teams, so how do these things come together? That's how the 5 lineups came together. I want to weave them through, and also I don't want to have all 5, and I didn't want to have all 5 lineups having the same batter. Good thing I had Jordan Alvarez in 4 of them. That was good. Glad I had Tommy Pham in 2 out of 5. But the Phillies could have easily came out and gotten 15 runs, and I'm just sitting here, last place, right? $635 in, 0 out. But I put $635 in, and I got what? 3,000 back, 3,000 out, 2,500, $2,500 worth of profit. Pretty good. Pretty good. If you got any questions, feel free to post them in the YouTube chat. Come on, I answer anything. Rick McGill says, good morning. Took 3rd, 9th, and 10th in the mini max. Oh, let's take a look. In the mini max, we got that. 3rd, 9th, and 10th. Okay. Oh, I guess it's McGill. I guess it's McGill person, right? $1,218 total ROI. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Let's see what your best lineup. Oh, Messi. You got a Messi lineup. Well, 4. You got a 4. Okay, you got a 4. You got 4. You got 4 in there. I guess it's a small enough slate that you could do like 4X or something. Okay. McClanahan, Montes, Freeman, Muncy, Turner, Bellinger. And then just got Yelich had a grand slam. Let's see. Z1 McGill. Here's this other lineup. Right. 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's a 5-man Brewers stack with Machado. Look how many paths there are to first place when the chalk fails. Look at this lineup and compare it to like the lineup that was in the $88 contest. 168.80. Nothing like the other, like Minaya Montes, right? You played the chalk combination of pitchers. They played a Milwaukee stack that Yelich has a home run at Grand Slam at 8%. You still got Alvarez in there, but you also have Machado, G-Man Choi. There's so many paths to a big score, to a leading score, not a big score. When you have 20 to 40% owned batters just going down in flames. So many ways to win. What won this? B52 Douglas. 1, 2, 3, kind of a messy-ish. San Diego, 3, 2, 2, whatever, with a 0. Right? Had Chad Cool at 1% that you didn't need. Right? But had a snowflake. Had a Cronenworth at 0. Won the minimax. You could have just replaced Jake Cronenworth with any second baseman and had a better score than this. So many paths to first place. Especially in baseball where the failure rate is so high. If you went into every slate and he said any stack that's more than 15% owned on a large size slate, 20% owned as 25% owned on a 5 or 16 slate, and you just said, I'm just going to X them out. And then build whatever lineups you want at that point. And literally don't even care about anything else. So I'm going to X out that any stack that's significantly higher than everything else, and just get rid of that team and just play lineups just for the rest of the season. I don't think that would be that horrible of an approach. I think that would be fine. Lean more towards that side than having to play the chalk team. Doug Montgomery says, I do that, Jordan. I run HQ for 100 lineups to try to choose. It's been exhausting. Wrong too. Well, once you get used to it, you can hand build. Once I chose 3 teams, I could have hand built all 5 lineups. I could have. I was just lazy, right? Do I have to go and I'll just run it with some combinations or whatever, and then go through. It's like, do I want to play Jake Fraley? No, I got rid of all my Jake Fraley lineups, right? How much Jeremy Pena do I want? I don't barely see any Trey Turner. So let me find at least one Trey Turner lineup. And I played Trey Turner in my Dodgers 5-man. And it's like, okay, all the other Trey Turner lineups get rid of, right? Like, it's not that complicated. I'm not looking for I'm not looking like the ownership versus project. I'm not doing that. Just like here's 100 possible lineups that have these combinations. And I just want one of each. I want 1, 5, 3 of every combination, whatever way it fits in, it fits in. Then Tyler Naquin gets scratched. And like, do I just plug in? Do I leave money on the ton of housing on the table and put in like Aquino or Fraley? Or do I play the better projected player and just play Bellinger? So I just put Bellinger. DJ Dog 3K says the most frustrating thing in DFS is getting the right teams and stacking the wrong guys. Been losing a lot because of that. I ride the storm though. Yeah, but you got to eat. That's why you play multiple lineups, right? But that's one of the reasons why if I'm playing multiple lineups, if I'm playing a ton of lineups, I like getting the diversity inside of the teams also. I'm not playing the same 5 guys from every. And I'm playing 100 lineups. I'm playing 20 Astro stacks, and they're all the same 5 guys. And then Jose Siri or something that has 27 points, and there are none of my lineups. So I want to have all the play. I want Maldonado in there. I want everyone. Brantley in there. I want all of them in there. Rick McGill says, do you use the OIS function for lesser projected players and stacks you like? Possibly. Depends on the position. Depends on the slate. If there's anyone that you only want in stacks, use that button. Sometimes players that are too high owned, I only want in stacks. Some players that are too low owned, I only want. Sometimes it depends on the context of the slate. There's no right answer. Stop trying to find the right answer. There is no correct answer. What do you want to do? Okay? That's the question. What do you want to do? I typically, and I'm saying the word typically, don't like one-offs that are really not power. That can't get there in one at-bat, in one plate appearance, in one swing of the bat. Not a big fan of the ninth hitters that hit 3 home runs the entire season as being a one-off, right? A $2,200 hitter that as a one-off. Now, if they're a catcher or a shortstop or a middle infielder on some slates, maybe I don't mind because the position may be very weak as it is. Outfield, probably don't want. Probably usually using the OIS button on weak hitting outfielders. Well, there's on a slate, there's typically tons of power hitting outfielders. But it may be a slate whether you look at the shortstop position and go, this all sucks. Right? Or unless you're paying up for Trey Turner, nothing else matters. So it's like at that point, if Trey Turner doesn't have a big either, am I going to just use Trey Turner as a one-off in all my lineups because he's the only shortstop with power? No, I may just go, maybe the shortstop position doesn't matter much on this slate. So I don't mind a 2,300. I don't mind Nicky Lopez there. Because maybe the highest scoring shortstop is 12, and I have one with 5, and that's fine. Like I said, it's the context. There's no correct answer. You have to find some way of weeding out lineups. You can make tens of thousands of them if you don't. Doug Montgomery says, so if I'm playing only 4 to 5 liners tonight, would I X out Coors tonight as it seems like obvious chalk tonight? Well, today's a much bigger slate, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 11 games. Is it going to be chalk? I don't know. I haven't looked. Minnesota projects well. Against Freeland, who's pitching for Colorado? Freeland? Depends on what the ownership is. Yesterday, the ownership was nuts because it was by far above everyone else, and it was only a 7-game slate with the 2 postponements. So it depends on what the dynamics of this slate are. It looks like that they'll be, I mean, that's the highest team total by far. I mean, that game has the highest, I mean, even like the Dodgers are only a 4. Milwaukee's 4.7, Boston 4.8. So yeah, I could see that being popular. How popular it is, I don't know. But the more popular it gets, the more likely it. I could tell you right now, like if I'm playing 5 lineups or something like that, most likely I'm not playing chalk. It has nothing to do with cores. It has nothing to do with ever. What's the easiest way for me to win? By having the chalk fail. That's the easiest way for me to win. And if I'm only risking this amount, and it's within my bankroll, then I'm fine with the chalk getting there sometimes and me just lose. I'm fine with that. I'll find combinations elsewhere, and I'll have more of a chance of winning first top 10 finish on a lot more slates, even though on some slates where the chalk comes in, I'll be dead last. Now, if you're playing a ton of lineups, right, you're risking a lot more. The better move would be to probably anything that's overowned, not play. But your swings are going to be ginormous. If you want to put in $2,250 and get 0 back a lot of the time, how much of a bankroll do you have? What percentage of the bankroll do you play? So sometimes you still want to get some back. So even though the highest EV lineups wouldn't include the Coors game, there's still plenty of plus EV lineups that still include the Coors game. So maybe you play some of them also. DJ Dog 3K says, on the Theory DFS podcast, you were talking about whether or not you should play multiple people in the outfield from the same team. Have you drawn any conclusions on that? I have no definitive mathematical evidence that is or is not better. It probably doesn't matter. But intuitively, I would think that you have for large field contests, you have a higher ceiling by not playing 3 outfielders from the same team. Does it matter, though? No, it doesn't matter. You know when it matters? When you've conquered everything else that does matter. Okay? MLB DFS, out of all the sports, MLB DFS is the sport that people overthink so far. MLB DFS is probably the easy, MMA and golf, only because there's limited correlation in a very small player pool. I would put MLB DFS like right underneath there, like in ease of play. Okay. People overthink it. When I mean overthink it, I'm talking about way overthink it. Like way overthinking. You could show a 3 minutes before a slate and build great lineups with knowing nothing about MLB DFS. Like that's like, if you're not at that point, get more towards that point. Anything, if you're not able to come 5 minutes before a slate and build lineups, that means you're overthinking it too much. Okay. So the 3 outfielders thing, right? Does that matter? It may. It matters this much. Okay. So when you start thinking about matters this much, when you've already conquered the things that matter more, right? I'm going to figure out X, Y, and Z. Should I do, and then not stack 5-man and not use projections and not care about ownership? It's like, then the 3 outfielder thing doesn't matter to you anymore, right? What's the point of this? Oh, I'm gonna like, if you're on a golf course, I don't know anything about really much about golf. People talk about like the different heads for their woods, right, or whatever. Do you have this angle here, this like this, and you watch the guy swing, and this guy swings and shanks it into the river. You look at the swing, and you get like, I don't know how this guy even plays golf. But the guy worries so much about the angle on the head. Like, nothing's going to change the fact that you don't know how to properly swing the club. So why are you worried about like the head shape and the iron size and whatever the hell it is, right? They're worried about whether or not they should get a 2-iron or something. It's like, dude, you're never going to use that, right? You're flying the ball all over the place. Don't worry about it. So that's the same thing with a lot of MLB DFS. People worry about all these little small things and don't even get the basics right. Right? The basics are, don't play over owned players, play under owned players, put them together. Correlation matters in baseball DFS, and just there's so much variance that you can build 7 million lineups and be fine. Right? Did you play one of the 7 million lineups? Okay, then you're fine. Okay, that looks pretty good. Oh, but it didn't work today. Okay, welcome to baseball. But that's what it is. That is what it is. That's why I talk about on slates where it's very easy to find relative value, to find leverage. It just seems easier to just do it that way. And there are slates where it's like there's tons of little spots of leverage, right, built into your lineup, under-owned players, stacking its over-owned players a little, but it's not as obvious. So you could build probably God knows how many lineups. Well, I could play this with that, and this with this, and this with that, and this with this. Next thing you know, you've built 70,000 lineups. But on a slate like yesterday, it's like, wow, this is easy. Just X out cores and stack against one of the 2 chalk pitchers, and that's it. If you wanted to play the Angels yesterday, go play the Brewers, play whoever. I chose the 2 highest team total team. Astros, Dodgers. Okay, good. But if you said, I wanted to play the Brewers, I would have been fine also. If I had 20 lineups, I probably would have had a Brewers mix into there also. Then it would have gotten down then to 100 lineups. It would have been all the other combos that weren't the Phillies, Colorado. I chose the Astros and the Dodgers. Well, why did you choose the Astros and the Dodgers? Well, they're the 2 highest team totals. Seemed like I only was able to choose 2. So why not choose those 2? I could have chose the Brewers. I thought the Brewers, based on projected ownership, maybe was slightly overowned. They weren't. They didn't end up coming in overowned. But you could have chose the Brewers and been perfectly. I would have said, okay, that's fine. You could chose the Padres and said, okay. I just happened the Astros and the Dodgers. So don't think about, well, what made you choose that over there? Oh, yeah, team totals. Yeah, but what happens if a team total is just like you're thinking too much? Like now you're asking questions where you're thinking too much. Don't think that much. Alex Santi puts it best, right? MLB DFS is the simplest, but it's not sure it's the easiest, right? I think that's a better way, right? It's the simplest. Let's see. Anything else in the YouTube chat before we get out of here? Josh Shock says, do you prefer DK or FanDuel for MLB slates? I prefer whichever site has the better payout structure for the main GPP that day. Today, it's neither. Today, it's neither. I think FanDuel is slightly better. I don't like DK's doing 100,000 and then 25, then 10, then 5. Like I hate that. Draftkings doing 30, 10, 5, 25 by the time. I think 10th place is $350, which is horrible also. But at least it's like a $4 contest. So like, okay, I could play 80 lineups into that or something, 100 lineups. DraftKings is a $15 contest. So it's like, it's a matter of, do I want to play 40 lineups on DraftKings today, or do I want to play 100 lineups or 80 lineups on FanDuel? Either way, I'm fine with. But typically, I just play on one site on a day. But it really has to do with the payout structure of the contests. Like yesterday, I only played 5 lineups only because I didn't want to build so many lineups. I'd work to do. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to small field, single entry, 3 max type of, $88 in a 3 max, but small of it. I just, what else am I building there? It's like, I knew going in, I'm fading cores and stacking is one of the 2 chalk pitches. It's like, if I'm doing that, like, how many lineups do I need? Right? I'll just play 5 lineups and don't play the large, because the large on both sides last night, the large field payout structures were horrible also. So I'm just like, I just don't even bother. Money Making Mike says the only successful lineups I've had this year was fading the chalk when I had 5 minutes to throw together a lineup. Yeah, which is perfectly fine. Which is perfectly fine to do. Perfectly fine. You could just go and look at projections, sign up for RotoGrinders Premium, click at that link in the description, get $10 off your first month. Just look at the projections, look at the ownership, look at the stack ownership. We'll have that. That's not out yet. We got that there, right? I take a look at the ceiling projections in the bat, right? Look, the Phillies are way above everyone else, but then we got the Dodgers. The Yankees aren't on the slate, right? It's 7. The slate starts at 7, right? The Red Sox, the Diamondbacks, even that game's going to play, maybe, right? Take a look here. But it's, oh, well, look, the Phillies are so much higher than everyone else. Yeah, what's their ownership going to be? Their ownership's going to be on an 11-game slate, 25%. And I'll find two teams to pair together that aren't the Phillies. And then what happens is the Phillies put up 8 runs, maybe. And you're like, oh, the chalk came in. It's like, no, but some other team could have put up 16 runs, and you didn't even need the Phillies. Right? So it's not like a given that like, oh, well, if the Phillies put up runs, you're dead. It's like, no, you just need another team to put up more, pretty much. Or hope that the Phillies didn't get there through like 17 home runs or something. It's all like, BABIP stuff and singles and runs, and like no one in the stack matters that much, right? It's like, yeah, the 5-man stack, everyone has like 14. It's like, okay, but it's like you could find 14s from other people on an 11-game slate. That's what you did. Look, I'm looking at teams, right? Teams, what's their ceiling, what the value is. The Braves may have value against Walker Buehler. The Twins against Carlos Hernandez. The Reds against Musgrove. Oh, if Musgrove is chalky, I'll probably try to play the Reds again. They look awful at the plate. Right? I could see that right now. I mean, just like I could show up and look at this like 10 minutes before a slate and go, okay, ding, 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 ding. Right? Take a look at the weather, make sure the weather is fine. Oh, everything's fine with the weather. And then 5-3, whatever, just put together 4-4, 4-3-1, whatever, jam some lineups together. Take a look at the ownership compared to the ceiling projections, and there you go. Let me make a bunch of. It's like, what's the difference between your 50 lineups and my 50 lineups? It could be nothing. Right? I could make thousands of lineups. So give me those thumbs ups. Give me the thummy thumbs on your way out the door. I'll be on Grinders Live later today, right? So I'm on Grinders Live with Dean with Dean and someone else. With Keith, I think Keith is on with us. So I'll be back on 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. We're no longer doing the 4:45s. I've been told. I ain't showing up until 5, right? That's at least Devin told me that. So 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock Eastern. Grinders Live. I'll be back to talk about today's slate. That's why it's like, oh, you're barely talking about today's slate or whatever. We don't talk that much about today's slate. We review stuff from yesterday. We discuss strategy. The YouTube chat's always cool, right? Smart people in the YouTube chat. And I come back at 5 o'clock with Dean, with Keith. Talk about the 11-game slate tonight. Doesn't look like anything's going to be postponed. Live locks on the Scores and Odds YouTube channel with Grant. You want prop betting stuff. NBA, MLB, whatever. And then crunch time right after Grinders Live is free. You get Roth, you get the weather updates, you get everything there for free all year. So join back at 5 o'clock Eastern for me. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell. You'll know when we go live. And I'll see you tomorrow to review the 11-game slate. What went right? What went wrong? And answer your DFS strategy questions, as I always do, on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.